In January 2021, General Motors made a stunning announcement. It aspires to eliminate tailpipe emissions from new light-duty vehicles by 2035, meaning that GM intends to stop selling gas-burning cars. GM executives have made announcements over the past several years touting the carmaker's commitment to an all-electric future. Of course, rivals such as Tesla, the world's most valuable automaker by a long shot, sell nothing but electric cars. GM plans to introduce 30 EVs by 2025.
They can't just sit back and wait for the market to come. They are going to have to push the market forward, because if they don't do it, there are others who will.
GM executives emphasize the company's plan to be completely emission-free is a goal and not a guarantee. But even with the walkback, GM's plan has skeptics. Concerns linger among auto industry insiders that consumers are still skittish about buying EVs.
We really want to hear from those customers because we think we can address all of that skeptic.
Vehicle ranges are improving, but charging an EV still takes a lot longer than filling a gas tank, and many areas don't have a lot of charging stations, especially when compared with the number of gas stations. GM is not the only one that has made a big commitment to electric vehicles. But some other automakers are spreading their bets out among electric, hybrid, and even more efficient internal combustion engines.
They have committed to going all electric, not doing hybrids, not doing plug-in hybrids. It's a huge risk. It's very ambitious, and they do it especially in light of range, cost, and infrastructure issues.
GM is expected to spend $27 billion on electric and autonomous vehicles through 2025. The automaker has since increased that investment to $35 billion.
They dramatically reduced the number of engineers and resources they're putting into traditional powertrains and diverted that over to electric development, both battery development as well as motors and power electronics, and also the software that controls all of this.
The automaker is planning crossovers, cars, SUVs, and trucks from all 4 of its US brands. Details on several of them are sparse, but a few are expected soon. As of August 2021, the Chevrolet Bolt EV and Bolt EUV are the only pure EVs GM sells in the US. As of August 27th, GM was undergoing a $1.8 billion recall of all Chevrolet Bolt vehicles over a risk of battery fires. GM has confirmed several such fires have already occurred. Other EV makers have also had problems with battery fires. GM is expected to soon begin releasing some highly anticipated vehicles, including a sleek crossover from its high-end Cadillac brand, and an all-electric sport utility truck with a 6-figure price tag, bearing the resurrected Hummer brand name. Underpinning most of these new electric vehicles will be GM's Ultium battery cells, a newly designed battery made in partnership with LG Chem. GM has said it has been able to dramatically reduce battery costs while improving capacity, thus solving 2 of the biggest concerns around EV adoption. The 2 companies will produce the batteries through a $2.3 billion partnership. GM is also including plans for electric commercial vehicles.
It is going to be really important for GM to get themselves established in this market, to have a viable electric delivery van, cargo van that can be used for a range of different applications, and also to have the services to back that up.
GM's Bright Drop venture will include vehicles, equipment, and services for electric commercial fleets. FedEx is the project's first customer. General Motors leased the EV1 from 1996 to 1999, making it the first automaker to release a mass-produced electric car. Despite customer satisfaction, the company could not make the business case for EVs and ended up scrapping the project and crushing most of the cars. An April report from Bank of America Merrill Lynch forecast that by 2035, battery electric vehicles will make up about 31.6% of total light vehicle sales worldwide and about 28.5% in North America. Another report from Boston Consulting Group forecast that pure electric vehicles will comprise 45% of light vehicle sales worldwide by 2035. So this is the trouble with GM's all-electric aspiration, according to Jan Gabrielsen, an auto industry economist. GM had about 8.7% of the world automotive market in 2020. EVs are only expected to be somewhere from 31.6% to 45% of all light vehicle sales around the world in 2035. If it exclusively sells electric vehicles around the world, GM risks dramatically shrinking its total global market share, unless it grabs a massive share of total EV sales. And there is a lot of competition coming. GM's market share has shrunk since 2008 in the US, North America, and around the world. Part of this is due to the automaker paring back operations. It sold off its entire European business in 2017 and exited some other markets, such as India. GM's international retreat has left it heavily dependent on North America, especially the United States, and the Chinese market, where it has 10 partnerships with Chinese automakers. Even in the US, it has lost share, dropping from 22.1% in 2008 to 17.1% in 2020. Then there is the question of how many customers actually want EVs, to which the answer seems to so far be not that many. Battery electric vehicles comprised just 2% of new car sales in 2020.
One of the reasons we haven't seen more electric vehicles, there haven't been that many to buy. We certainly anticipate that sales will increase as more models come onto market.
China is a bright spot. Almost half the total number of EVs in the world are in China.
Having experience in China, where electric vehicles are much more common, is also very helpful. GM, I think we'll probably see more GM electric vehicles in China than we will actually here in the US.
GM's business in China is done strictly through joint partnerships with Chinese firms, so it has less control over its business there than it does in North America. Competition in China is also steep, with many domestic EV manufacturers in the marketplace. Demand for EVs spiked in Europe in 2020. The region surpassed China for the first time in EV sales. This is not expected to continue, but it is anticipated that Europe will contribute a lot to global EV market share. Those who follow the industry say there are some potential hurdles to ownership. EVs still tend to cost more than a comparable internal combustion engine. It varies from model to model, but it takes a long time to fully charge an EV battery. The fastest charging technology, DC fast charging or level 3 charging, takes about 30 minutes to charge a battery for about 125 miles of driving. Slower connections can take up to several hours.
When we talk to consumers, barriers to EV adoption for them are availability of charging, reliability, and affordability of the EVs. Manufacturers are working on the affordability, new battery technology that's going to be cheaper, but charging is still a major issue.
As of August 24th, 2021, there were 5,325 DC fast charging stations in the United States, compared with roughly 150,000 gas stations. It's true that customers can charge elsewhere, such as at home or in the office parking lot, but this requires a reliable connection. Many Americans don't have garages or a convenient way to plug in their cars.
GM's big risk is they put all the chips on one spot. And it strikes me that a lot of things have to come together. One of the biggest is, are we going to get an infrastructure package that vastly increases the EV charging infrastructure? Because that's key, I think, for every automaker.
Many of the world's automakers are taking a cautious approach to electrification by offering several different powertrains across their lineups: internal combustion, hybrids, electrics, and others.
Bob Carter, an executive at Toyota, said, we want to be the Macy's department store of propulsion systems. So they're going to have gas, hybrid, plug-in hybrid, fuel cell, and they're even playing with hydrogen run through regular engines in Japan.
GM's Detroit rival Ford is pursuing a somewhat similar strategy. The F-150, for example, is available with a range of internal combustion engines as well as a hybrid powertrain, and an electric variant is expected in 2022. GM says it is addressing some of those concerns. For example, the automaker added an energy assist feature to its My Chevrolet app.
If you're taking a trip, it'll tell you where to charge. It'll make your trip much more pleasant for you as you go down with that. But we want to make sure that we keep you to answer all those questions.
With its challenges in mind, GM does have some strengths. First, it has its own battery technology, albeit one that it has produced in partnership with LG Chem. One of the key points about GM's Ultium batteries is that they can be produced for less than $100 per kilowatt hour, a kind of barrier in pricing that once crossed will make EVs price competitive with internal combustion engines.
That's a pretty breakthrough number, and we're not done yet. We don't know the bottom of the cost curve.
Ultium batteries can be produced cheaply due to the reduced content of certain metals, especially cobalt.
Some of this innovation is happening where not only are you using less critical metals, we use nickel and cobalt, manganese and aluminum, but we're dropping the expensive parts of the batteries down by like 70% to get all the performance and all the cost reduction to make this happen for our customers.
Ultium batteries also have a design comprised of what GM calls pouch cells. These are distinct from the cylindrical designs seen on other vehicles, such as Tesla's. This design, which GM says is unique in the industry, allows the cells to be stacked in different configurations that can accommodate different needs in different vehicles. It, for example, allows for designs that lower the floor of the cabin in a car and give more interior room. GM has also brought battery cell development in-house, which is a break from the past, when it and most other automakers were relying on suppliers.
A lot of the big OEMs are seeing that as something that they need to be doing, both to make sure that they have enough supply, because if they're going to be making this transition to completely electric, they're going to need a lot more batteries than we have the capacity to produce right now.
GM is also beginning this EV onslaught in segments where it competes extremely well, such as in crossovers, SUVs, and full-size pickup trucks. The 3 best-selling models in the US are all full-size pickup trucks. Ford's F-Series is usually the top-selling line of pickups, but GM is the biggest seller of full-size and mid-size trucks combined, and it surpassed Ford in full-size pickup sales in 2020.
The pickup's popularity is not lost on upstart EV makers such as Tesla, Rivian, Lordstown, and Bollinger.
Tesla, the most valuable automaker in the world by market capitalization, debuted its futuristic-looking Cybertruck in 2019. Ford debuted its fully electric F-150 Lightning in 2021. It has also borrowed the Mustang name for its first fully electric SUV, the Mustang Mach-E. GM is also reaching into its archives, and it has chosen to revive the Hummer name. The original lineup was a gas-guzzling family of SUVs modeled on military vehicles. It was beloved by celebrities, but hated by those who saw the vehicles as cardinal symbols of excess.
GM killed the Hummer brand during its reorganization after declaring bankruptcy in 2009, only to watch sport utility vehicle sales skyrocket in the recovery that followed the recession.
GM will first release the Hummer as a pickup.
An SUV will follow in 2023.
The electric Hummer pickup has 1,000 horsepower, 11,500 pound-feet of torque, and can go 0 to 60 in about 3 seconds, which is faster than many iconic high-end sports cars. The electric Hummer has attracted a lot of attention, including among buyers who are not the typical electric vehicle customer. Bob Dykes runs an oil and gas company out of Colorado and has a reservation for the first electric Hummer pickup truck. He said he is not terribly interested in Tesla, but used to own some of the original Hummer vehicles and wants to try out the new version.
My main purchase reason was I thought it was cool. I liked it, and it would be unique to have for a while and see what it's like.
Dykes thinks it will be a while before EVs take over.
The electric vehicles, there's going to be quite a few in the future, but I think it's going to take 20, 30 years to get enough infrastructure to really put this in the marketplace.
Part of GM's plan includes new models from its struggling luxury brand Cadillac. The Lyric crossover is due out in 2022. The Celestiq will be hand-built and likely carry a very steep price tag. General Motors does have a strong legacy of innovation. GM was the first company to put catalytic converters on cars to filter out pollutants. It was the first company to offer engines that deactivated cylinders to save money on gas. It was the first company to offer widespread connectivity in its vehicles through its OnStar service. But not all of GM's innovations were successful.
In some cases, some of those technologies came to market maybe a little prematurely, like cylinder deactivation in 1980 on the Cadillacs, before it was really ready.
In the same way, its early attempts to introduce electric cars struggled.
I remember driving the first EV1. While that wasn't a sales success by any stretch, it certainly was a learning experience. which allowed them to move on to the Volt. So all of those things are learning experiences that give them some institutional knowledge that I think is probably really helpful.
Despite all the challenges that come with electrification, committing to electric gives GM a shot at self-reinvention, while nodding to its history and perhaps even vindicating earlier engineers and executives who took chances.